$6.50 the bet.
Sports Radio 610 presents Seth Payne and Sean Pendergast.
Get the work in, man. Let's go.
Great day, great day. Oh, give me some juice, baby.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of bodies on Van Vliet. Green to Thompson.
Hot potato.
Oh, how about that to Şengün? The Rockets just beat the Hawks in their full court press. They do it again.
Oh, goodness.
Look at this look by Hunter to give them the lead. Just did miss it. And then the Hawks were pressuring the ball. The Rockets played keep away. Şengün then with the dunk. And they win it 100-96. An ugly win is still a win.
Yeah, absolutely. An ugly win is a win nonetheless, Seth Payne.
You know what, Sean? A lot of times in a long basketball season or a baseball season, you'll say a good team might drop a game to a bad opponent, and at the end of the season when the seedings come out, you're like, oh well, there you are. You know, it's those little games like that back in late January that doom you, that we need to remember as we become the best in the world. To point out games like that last night where, as you pointed out yesterday, man, couple of tough games on the road, and then they go in to play the Hawks the next night in their third game on this road stand or this road trip. That's the kind of game you drop. Let's remember, depending on how the standings shake out, that this is the kind of games that when you win in a tough and gritty fashion in the last moments, these matter too.
Absolutely.
That was an easy one. You get at the end of this road trip, especially with them going into Memphis. You know what? You got 3 out of 4, and you won the really tough ones, but you dropped one to the Hawks. Whatever. Nah, these little wins matter.
They do.
In the overall sum total of things.
Yeah, no question about it. And it didn't have to be that close either. The Rockets were up by double digits late in the fourth quarter in this game, and the Hawks clawed their way back in. And yeah, that was the type of game. Albeit the games I'm about to reference were at home. That was the type of game they were losing not all that long ago when the back-to-back games. I think against Minnesota and Miami at home, where they had big leads in the fourth quarter, like late in the fourth quarter, and they coughed them up and lost. Like, regardless of venue, that was good to see them at least kind of steady things at the end, get a stop when they needed to, get the Şengün dunk to make it a 4-point game with a couple of seconds left. So yeah, you're 100% right. And that was a game that that was a weird one last night because they were supposed to have played that game like 2 weeks ago. They got frozen in Atlanta. So now you get it plunked down here in between a Boston and a Memphis game in the middle. This road trip was supposed to be Cleveland, Boston, Memphis, 3 of the best, 5 or 6 teams in the NBA. And you get in Atlanta, 11 seed in the Eastern Conference or whatever they are, plunked down in the middle of it.
It's like slicing, that's like Commodus slicing your Achilles tendon right before or putting a shiv in your side right before the big fight.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm not gonna sit here and say like that game's just as important as the Boston game was the night before. To win an NBA championship, you're gonna have to beat Boston, not Atlanta. You know what I mean? You learn more how good a team is by beating Boston. I think you learn more about the character of the team, maybe, and about winning a game like last night.
Well, and if you look at especially young guys like Jalen Green comes out and can't make a basket. Starts off 0 for 4, 0 for 5, whatever it was, but then he shot 50% the rest of the night.
Yeah,
you had to rely on some guys playing more minutes than they typically do. They had to demonstrate their ability to rebound on short rest against a bad opponent twice in that game at least. Mm-hmm. So that was really nice. That was encouraging to me. I know they can stand toe to toe with the really good teams. How professional a team are you, and how much do you put out even in the lower marquee games? That was good last night.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It'll forever be known as the Jayshawn Tate game. He was I'm not. I don't know if critical of Jayshawn Tate is the way I would frame it. My feeling about Jayshawn Tate has always been if he's one of your 7 rotational players, you're probably not a very good basketball team. He does the most with what God gave him. But last night, man, you don't win that game without Jayshawn Tate. He was really good off the bench. 16 points off the bench. That was cool. It was good to see.
The other thing yesterday was announced that Reed Shepherd and Amin Thompson are on the Rising Star team for the playoff.
Oh yeah.
Which it does go to show. I mean, they've had multiple guys on that team now for the last several years. Rafael Stone's starting to look really good this season.
Oh, yeah.
You go and you're an in-house promotion after the GM leaves and the team is being torn apart from within. And you say at the beginning of it, well, you can't really judge a GM until a few years down the line. Man, he's putting together an impressive resume.
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. Like they they didn't try to hide behind the rebuild. They declared the rebuild. We are now in phase 1 of the rebuild. And
there was no we believe we can win a championship this year.
Yeah,
by dadgummit.
There's no straddling the line. No, we're trying to be competitive. No, the guys that you put on the floor are competing. They're not trying to get lottery picks, but you're not putting a team out there that's competitive. So, yeah, you look at the 7 first-round picks, and I don't know that there's one that you can say is a bust. They're all capable. Jalen Green and Alperen Şengün, they've spoken on them. They gave them both contract extensions. The next year was Jabari Smith and Tari Eason. Jabari was the 3rd pick in a draft where Chet Holmgren and Paolo Banchero were the 2 picks before him. So that's tough because those guys are both high-level players. But Jabari's been fine. On this team, if Jabari was the only first-round pick that you had in a 3-year period, that'd be a struggle right now. But when you got 6 first-round picks in a 3-year period, if Jabari just turns into a role player, that's okay. Tari Eason, when he's on the floor, when he can stay healthy, is a more impactful player than Jabari Smith. And then you've got the 2 guys from last year, Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore. And Amen's in the league, and Cam Whitmore, when he plays, he wasn't that great last night, but he scores points. Cam Whitmore is more likely a trade chip at some point to make some deal down the road. But and Reed Shepherd is a work in progress. He's halfway through his rookie year, so I'm not going to declare victory or defeat on either one of those. But the plan was get all these young guys, and then at some point do the Josh Reddick, Brian McCann, Carlos Beltran thing, where you infuse some veteran discipline and leadership in. They did that with Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet. I think those have both worked out, and now I think I think in terms of phase 3, which is compete, they're a year ahead of probably where I don't think they thought they'd be the 2 seed, like a viable 2 seed in the Western Conference. You're 100% right. Rafael Stone has done an A-plus job as the general manager of this basketball team.
It was similar on football. It's tougher because there's just so many more numbers involved. But you could see what Caserio was doing in the first couple of years was that they brought in all these journeyman veteran types, and you got to bring a lot more of them in than you do on a basketball team. Mm-hmm. And they're not up to the same caliber of like a Dylan Brooks or a Fred VanVleet necessarily, but guys that can be mentors for the younger players.
Yeah.
Oh, that linebacker whose name I blank on right now for the first couple of
Christian
years.
Christian Kirksey.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Kirko.
Kirko. Yeah, his name is Kirko. Yeah.
As some people insisted on calling him, which I always objected to.
I heard from behind the scenes that he wasn't all that hepped up about being called Kirko.
What they used to call Michael Jackson in the tabloids when he found himself in a bit of a pinch legally. They would call him Jacko.
Oh, Jacko, yeah.
Yeah, Kirko wouldn't make any sense.
That's why I was confused.
Use your brain. Jacko.
That's what they would call Michael Jackson. I'm like, Kirko?
Kirko.
Well, that's awfully strange.
If they had called Michael Jackson Kirko, then I definitely wouldn't want to be called Kirko.
Yeah, right.
If somebody's comparing me to Michael Jackson, it's not for my musical skills. Get that name out of my damn mouth.
That's right.
Your damn mouth. Get everything out of your mouth.
Text message. Credit should go to Ime Udoka and Rafael Stone. We credited Stone. We didn't mention Udoka when it comes to grading the
All right. Listen, buddy. Are we really going to do this early in the morning? We're 9 minutes into the show. Hey, don't leave out Udoka. All right, just can you just not need me to talk about everything all the time?
You're doing the thing that you said. You're not assuming positivity. This may not have been in response to anything. He may have just been chiming in like the guy sitting next to us before we even went deep on Rafael Stone.
Yeah, it's more entertaining if I do respond that way.
It is true. All right, Payne and Pendergast with you.
And let's be honest, 90% of the time, that's exactly how those suggestions are meant.
Okay.
You can't say anything nice about anybody without somebody being like, oh, yeah, dude. Yeah, everybody forgets that Abraham Lincoln freed the slave. Where's Abraham? No, where the hell would we be? Where the hell would we be without Aristotle? I mean, you guys are sitting here talking about Jay Sean Tate, and I'm just like, oh, all right. I suppose Theodore Roosevelt never did a damn thing for anybody.
Right.
Okay. My God, relax a little. I say it.
I know. Voice. Relax. I'll tell you what got me worked up this morning driving in. Maggie and Perloff were, yammering back and forth with each other on the show about the Super Bowl. And Maggie says their debate was, do people want to see the Chiefs get the three-peat? Because people like to see greatness. Like, that was Maggie's whole thing.
Don't.
She said, she was insistent. She said, people want to see greatness. And I'm like, okay, don't speak for people. People is a lot of people. People want to see what they want to see. You know what I mean? Like, people want to see what they want. Some people want to see greatness. Some people want to see Patrick Mahomes get his head knocked off. Like, this is the only thing that I'm like, okay, what can we say with generality that people want to see? And I think the one thing that you can say with generality that people want to see, they want to see something that moves them emotionally one way or the other. People don't like to be bored, I think, generally speaking. Like, that's
a good way to put it.
Yeah.
No. And I think it's an annoying take to me because I feel like a lot of times it's people in sports media who are just not looking outside of their own filters. People, especially writers love to write about dynasties. They love to write about them. It's fun. You get to be all dramatic. Mm-hmm. You get to go back to Patrick Mahomes' childhood in the seminal moment when he realized he could be great one day. All that crap. They've got dreams of a Pulitzer Prize in their heads. Mm-hmm. But that's not what the average Joe on the street wants to.
Not this year. No, there are times I want to see greatness. This isn't one of them. Like, in general, I'm like, I don't wake up in the morning as a sports fan going, okay, where can I go see greatness? I don't want to see greatness if it's a team or a player that I don't like. I want to see them get their heads handed to them,
The funniest thing for me is I try to learn about producing online content and everything.
Yeah.
Everybody's got advice about the way you have to do things. And the sports radio is the same way. I'm sure it's like this in all these other industries. And it's so funny when, the most successful podcaster out there is Joe Rogan. And yet, everybody will tell you over and over and over again, you don't want to do long episodes. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Like, well, all right. Well, Joe Rogan does 7-hour marathons.
Yeah.
But really, I didn't want. That's an exaggeration. But he does 3-hour shows.
Right.
And there's obviously a market for that.
Right.
Now he's different because he's built himself up and he's able to. You're not going to be able to be exactly like Joe Rogan.
It's great guests. Yeah.
But all these damn people with their journalism degrees and communications degrees will tell you nope. The way the most successful person in the industry does it is not the way to do it.
Yeah.
Go die.
Yeah.
Go die with your talk of three-peats or what everybody wants to see and anything else in the world.
We're on one this morning, man, for sure. All right, Payne and Pendergast.
About the Chiefs.
Payne and Pendergast with you. People want to see greatness. Well, they want to listen to the best in the world. We appreciate you. Dana Brown met with the media yesterday in the aftermath of the Ryan Presley trade. Are we buying the rationale behind the Ryan Presley trade? And I appreciate Dana Brown's honesty when it came to his relationship with Ryan Presley after the Hader signing last year. We get to all that. We got a lot to get to on the show today. Stay there. You're listening to, and I got to tell you about the Slam Dunk trip to Vegas real quick. If you could, listen for 60 Minutes on the Odyssey app because you benefit from that. Live, rewind, or show podcasts. You could be on your way to Vegas. It doesn't matter how you listen, just listen to Sports Radio 610 or any of our participating sister stations on the Odyssey app for 60 minutes. You earn your daily entry. Then you and 3 friends could be wheels up to Vegas in March with an extra $5K in each of your pockets for the ultimate college basketball tournament experience. Just log in and listen now on the Odyssey app for your chance to win this national contest. Dana Brown on Ryan Presley next.
Hold the phone.
Hello? American flag. Live from the Mokaram Injury Lawyers Studios, Sports Radio 610 presents Payne and Pendergast.
All right, Payne and Pendergast with you on a Wednesday.
Sean.
Yeah, Wednesday. Good to be with you. Appreciate you getting up with us. Dana Brown met with the media yesterday. Ryan Presley is now a Chicago Cub, and the Astros got back a single-A pitcher. More importantly, I think to the Astros is they got under the competitive balance tax. Here was Dana Brown yesterday on the thought process behind the trade of Ryan Presley.
As we build to compete in the present, we're also looking toward the future. And so when you get an opportunity to acquire a young arm like Juan Bello, it's just it's one of those opportunities that, when you look down for starters toward the future, this guy's got a chance to be really good. He throws a lot of strikes. He can mix his pitches. There's some upside to velocity. And so as we compete in the present, we're also building for the future.
Okay, are we 100% buying Dana Brown's rationale for the trade, that it was when you got a chance to get a Juan Bello, single-A pitcher in the Cubs organization, you don't walk, you run to go get you some Juan. I'll take his word for it on Juan Bello. Dana Brown watches these guys way more than I do, but it's a little disage that Ryan Presley was set to make $14 million this year to be your setup guy.
Well, I feel like, and we'll hear in some of these clips, he did acknowledge that there was some discomfort. There was a not a fracture, but maybe an altered relationship after they brought in Josh Hader, that you demote a guy to set up after being the go-to closer.
Sure.
That, there was something there.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I heard that clip, I wasn't thinking that, man, boy, he's really just trying to whistle past the graveyard.
No.
It was what it was.
Yeah, but I think the main reason they got rid of Ryan Presley is because he makes $14 million. I think that's my guess. And then it wasn't mentioned. I thought I'm not mad at Dana Brown for it or anything, but I just think it's like, boy, he went deep on the Juan Bello answer there. Like, boy, we targeted this single-A pitcher, and that's the guy we had to go get right there.
Yeah. And the money, obviously the money being the
money
big
matters.
factor there.
Yeah, the money matters. Well, here's what you're alluding to. This was the most interesting cut, I thought, when Dana Brown, very honest about this, I think. What was the relationship like with Ryan Presley when they went out and got Josh Hader to essentially take his job?
I think the relationship took a slightly different turn. Anytime you take a major league player out of a role where they feel comfortable, I think it's going to fracture your relationship some. I think we continue to communicate. He was a true professional, and I, kept it real as a true professional myself. And so ultimately, it was the same as when we first met. There was some frustration, which I would totally understand from a competitor. You're moving a guy at a position who felt like he didn't deserve to lose his job. And, because you acquired, another elite closer like a Hader. And so, the whole purpose in doing all that was to really lock down the back end. And so I know in his heart of hearts, he wanted to close.
I'm trying to put myself in Presley's shoes on this, and we know, closers are wired a little differently. They're hyper competitive, so I can understand Presley's frustration. I do wonder, the one thing we don't know, like, was Ryan Presley totally blindsided by the Josh Hader signing, or were there any conversations with him going into the offseason in which they signed Hader, where they said, "Hey, we may look for a closer. We may look for some bullpen help that's going to take some of the closer load off of your plate." How that's where I'm curious, where the communication sounded like it was heavy once Hader got in the building, but I'm curious. Yeah. I'm curious if Presley, it'd be like getting your employee review, like each year, and you got A's on your, you got all check pluses for everything you were as an employee, and then you get fired like a month later. Like, you told me I was really good at my job.
Everything was fine.
Yeah. So that's what I'm just curious about, like how unexpected was. Because I think the fan base got totally blindsided by Josh Hader. The Astros are in this holding pattern. They just spent a ton of money on Jose Abreu and Rafael Montero the year before, and that didn't work. $1 million a year for 5 years on Josh Hader. Like, that was very unexpected, I think.
It's a little bit like in the NFL when the Falcons explore trading for Deshaun Watson, and that's pretty much the end of the relationship with Matt Ryan. That it's like you and I were discussing yesterday. Yeah, how do you tell your wife that you're considering polyamory? It's once the cat's out of the bag. That's a big one sitting out there. Oh, you're not into it. Okay,
right.
Well, we'll just move on, right?
That's right.
No, it's not that simple.
Yeah,
as you told me, and.
Okay, Seth asked me. Okay, I have to clarify this. Seth asked me, "Do you think you could be polyamorous?" And I said, "Hell no, I couldn't. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work."
Yeah, and it didn't help either. It's not like Josh Hader came in and blew the world away. It's one thing when they bring in a replacement. And it is, you say, all right, I'll try to see it from the organization's perspective. But Josh Hader came in and was not the best version of Josh Hader.
No.
I mean, the bullpen in general last year was one of the bigger letdowns on the team on the sum total of it all. But for a lot of reasons, I wonder, with or without the luxury tax, do you think they probably would have thought, all right, we got to move on from this eventually?
Okay, that's a good question. If there were no finances involved, let's pretend there's no luxury tax and that Jim Crane operates like the Dodgers, right? Would they have gotten rid? It's $14 million for a setup guy. Okay, cool. I think the only way you get rid of Presley is if you feel like that him being unhappy in a setup role is going to somehow poison your clubhouse. And I don't know that Ryan Presley is disruptive to even close to that degree. And I think the other thing was, I felt like there was a better chance he wouldn't be going anywhere because his wife is from Houston. His kids were born in Houston. He loves Houston. He lives here.
Dallas.
Yeah, he's from Dallas. Like, I thought I wanted them to move Presley because I do know the finances factor into all this. So I wanted them to move on from Ryan Presley and trade him and get a deal done. As somebody who wanted to get a deal done, I was more nervous they wouldn't get a deal done because Presley would want to stay here and stay in Houston.
And I think, and to be clear about it too, there wasn't anybody that's talked about it says that Ryan Presley was very professional about
Correct.
it. Hunter Brown had some comments that it sounded pretty much like Dana Brown's. It was uncomfortable, but he wasn't going to be a bad teammate or a cancer in the clubhouse over it or anything like that.
Yeah, you're a better team with Ryan Presley. He like Hader. He was not the best version of himself last year. Ryan. Right. But he's again. We're in the debate or the discussion you and I are having right now. We're putting salary aside. Like, if we're just putting salary aside, I'd rather have Ryan Presley on the Astros than Juan Bello in my minor league system.
Well, no, Juan Bello's probably not going to help you this year. And there were as Chandler Rome always puts things to where you got to do a little math in your head. Only 7 teams recorded more blown save chances. So they had the 8th most. You can't say it that way.
He's such a good writer. He's such a good reporter. Why does he do this?
Only 6 total lower WAR from the relievers. Okay, so they had the 7th. They had the 7th lowest WAR.
Does he make his articles into a Sudoku puzzle? Why does he do this?
No, but I mean, the bullpen where last year people were gushing over how it was going to be, oh my gosh, the best bullpen that ever was. Now you're looking at, okay, Taylor Scott, hopefully he's fully recovered from his back injury. Does Sean Dubin or Caleb Ort end up being more of a factor this year? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of room for speculation as to how it's going to look.
Yeah, I feel good about the 8th and 9th innings. Like, I feel good about Brian Abreu. I do feel good about Josh Hader, even though his numbers were down last year. From elite Josh Hader, but I feel fine.
Well, he was in that position where he was awesome in save situations.
Yeah.
The way Presley has been at times too in the last couple of years. We're like, okay, in save situations, in the high leverage situations, they're fine. It's just some of the other ones that just don't make any sense.
Yeah, and I don't have Hader's game log in front of me or anything like that, but it feels like if I'm just going off a feel from this year, it felt like he had a lot of saves where he came in with a 2 or 3 run lead and would give up a solo home run but still get the save. And that's why his ERA is so high for a closer. His ERA is almost 4 last year. All right, the latest on Alex Bregman. Here's Dana Brown yesterday saying, we are still discussing Bregman internally.
We've talked internally about, him still being available. And so we are definitely having our front office. We haven't reached back out to Boris. At some point, it could turn to that. I know that we're taking a deep look at what it would look like if we acquired him, and how would it look for us financially? Does it make sense to do it? We know that he's a talented player. We'd love to have him, but I would mostly say it's all internal conversations as to what we would like to do in terms of Bregman.
Okay, so they're just discussing internally. One more from Dana Brown said he owes Scott Boras a call back.
Well, I owe Boras a call. He sent me a text, today, so I'll probably end up getting back to him.
Oh, see, I like that. Dana Brown, kind of a little power play right there. Yeah, like Boras is texting me. I'll probably get back to him.
Okay, so that's the thing is, initially this was reported as the Astros reaching out to Scott Boras.
Yeah.
After this, I wonder if that was the case, or if it was more that sometimes agents feed information to writers, and try to make their client look as juicy as possible. To hear from Dana Brown talking about it, it felt like, all right, yeah, we've thought about it, and Boras gave us a call or a text, and we'll get back to him when we feel like it, but it's been all internal at this point. I don't get any sense that the Astros are trying, at least they're not trying to play it like, oh, yeah, I'm in here.
He paints, Dana Brown in those two cuts, paints a picture of a much more motivated Boras and Bregman to come to something than he does that the Astros are, standing out on the corner showing their leg to Alex Bregman like, yoo-hoo, Alex.
And the way the agents play it too, if he's trying to create the image of Alex Bregman being desirable, maybe Alex Bregman really doesn't want to come back, and yet Boras is like, we got to make it look like there's a lot of people interested. All right, we got to apply some pressure here.
Well, but I mean, look, Boras wants to come out of this thing selfishly looking good as well, so he's trying to max out.
I thought about that. I was thinking about, okay, what's Boras have to prove to anybody, except the way guys like Scott Boras get to be Scott Boras is by being always really wanting to look like the guy that's getting the job done.
With every client, with every single one, He
knows that the shine can come off of his star at any moment, that you don't want this to be one of those situations.
It's the same reason star players get chippy with people on social media, you know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah. Why would Kevin Durant care what some schmuck in Dubuque thinks about him? Like, I don't know, but he does.
Because he's insanely self-conscious about how elite he is,
Yeah.
So one more from Dana Brown yesterday. This surprised me a little bit. Turns out that perhaps Alex Bregman's return isn't the only thing that could have Jose Altuve playing a little bit of left field next year.
Ultimately, I think Jose will get some reps at second and also in left. I just think that we're trying to create some versatility in the lineup, and that would give us some freedom and flexibility to potentially make another move. And so, we're not taking anything off the table. We're weighing all the options. We'll see what it looks like in left field, with understanding that he's going to play some second base or be at second base quite often, depending on what the coaching staff comes up with. But we're not taking anything off the table in terms of, seeing what he looks like in left field.
Okay, and now I'm excited for this. Like, if they're just going to do it regardless of Bregman and experiment with him in spring training out there, let's go. I want to see Jose Altuve play left field. Super curious.
He's been doing it some out there at Dyken or Dakin? I cannot get this in my head.
It's Dyken.
Dyken Park.
Dyken. Looks like Dakin, pronounced Dyken. Yes. Yep.
That doesn't help me at all. So Dyken Park. He's been doing it a little bit already. It makes sense for load management, and I think that if that's the solution to keep him from having to be as active and take as much wear and tear, just like with Biggio. I know that's the first thing people do is like, hey, Biggio did it. Like, Biggio had played in the outfield throughout his career, so it wasn't as drastic of a difference. It's I think with Altuve, he's never done anything out in the outfield. So I know people get hung up on the height. Being short hurts you in the field as well. Worry about the actual height factor, right?
There's no position in baseball where being 5'6" is ideal.
Is an idea, right? Right. Now the difference is you make up for it with your speed and your jump on the ball and everything. Yeah. So it does his speed, or he's 35 years old, does his reduced speed hurt him more or less in the outfield than at second base? I don't know. I don't think that's as big. I'm just more concerned about the times where his lack of arm strength is going to be an issue.
I just need him to keep
I mean, it's gonna. I hope most of his left field come more at Minute Maid Park and in places with short left porches than some big old cornfield.
I'm not worried about. His bat speed is the big thing that needs to stay elite with Jose Altuve. Yeah, you're not giving Jose Altuve $30 million a year to win a Gold Glove. You're giving him $30 million a year to have a 900 OPS. That's the big thing. All right, Payne and Pendergast with you. Let's get to some headlines. Rockets win again. This was a good win last night for the Rockets. I think kind of a sneaky good win. Latest on the Texans' search for a new offensive coordinator as well. We'll do that in headlines coming up next. But first, Prize Picks. I want you to take out your phone right now. Not if you're driving, but make a mental note. Download Prize Picks, right?
and Pendergast with today's headlines.
A lot of bodies on Van Vliet. Green to Thompson.
Hot potato.
Oh, how about that to Şengün? The Rockets just beat the Hawks in their full court press. They do it again.
Oh, goodness.
Look at this look by Hunter to give them the lead. Just didn't miss it. And then the Hawks were pressuring the ball. The Rockets played keep away. Şengün then with the dunk, and they win it 100-96. An ugly win is still a win.
Yeah, damn right it is. Ugly win is still a win, as a loyal listener Jackie Goss pointed out on the X to us, Seth. I'm going to tell my wife win every time I get something done around the house, but leave a huge mess behind.
Yeah.
It got
a win
done.
is a win.
Yeah.
It's an ugly win, but it's a win.
It's
right?
a win, yes.
Yeah.
We'll take it. 196 over the Atlanta Hawks. By the way, those I know the City Connect jerseys in the NBA are there for marketing and merchandising purposes, and I like some of them. I like the Rockets City Connect jerseys. Those Hawks jerseys need to be tossed in the trash, dumped in gasoline, and lit into a gigantic bonfire. Those are hideous. With the sky blue, gigantic, whatever that is, going across.
Yeah, I felt it gave me a little bit of a UNC vibe.
Yeah.
I was cool with them. I hadn't really thought. There's something about the way that it goes across their midsection, like a sash or something.
You like
that?
that?
I don't. Not in the front, but in the back. It looks like on the. It looks like or like they're wearing a male girdle or something.
You're all right with it? Yeah, you're okay. You're okay.
Yeah, I didn't think they were the worst.
Yeah, I didn't like them very much. I did like the Rockets' performance last night. I like that they probably played their C-plus game and came out of there with a win. You know, that's
right
in a back-to-back.
No, and especially coming off of a really tough, hard-fought win versus a really good opponent. You go on the road, you don't get a shoot-around. Like everybody's sleep is all messed up. It's not a good team you're playing. And they came out looking like that, and then they figured it out. Jalen Green started off really, really cold, and then he shot 50% for the rest of the evening. They built up a nice big lead, and yet they relinquished it, and then they scrapped and clawed their way to a victory.
Yeah.
Where it would be easy to think that they're emotionally thinking ahead to this Memphis game or whatever else it might be. These are the little ones that at the end of the season, you look at the standings, wins like this tend to matter. And it would have been, I wouldn't have been freaking out at all. If they'd lost by 20, I'd be like, it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
So kudos to them.
Since his 2-game suspension for hip-tossing Tyler Hero, the second of which was a 23-point loss to the Boston Celtics at home, Amen Thompson, the Rockets are 10-2 since Amen Thompson's 2-game suspension, since he came back from his suspension. Now, he missed one of those games with an injury. He did not dress. So they're 9-2 in the games that he played. But the big thing, Seth, is who they're against. The wins include the Lakers, 2 Memphis games, a Denver game, 2 Cleveland games, Boston, and then last night.
Well, and on the season, they're 12-3 when he starts.
Yeah.
He's averaging 18 points on 57.8% shooting, averaging 10.9 rebounds a night. He's been very, very good for this team.
And this is how he'll get load managed, is instead of playing 42 minutes like he did the night before, he'll only play 31 minutes like he did last night. He's going to get load managed. And you know what? And we should give some credit to Jalen Green, played in his 150th consecutive game. You know, in an NBA where even young guys sit out games sometimes or whatever. Yeah. Jalen Green, he plays and he loves to play every night. And I saw an interview after the game with him. I think it was locker room. He said the people pay to see me play, and I think he's like, the people pay to come see me play. Now I don't know how 100% true people are going, I got to see Jalen Green. He's turning into one of those guys. But I admire the sentiment for sure.
Well, you know what though? I mean, that's a little bit of the sentiment of the leadership amongst players in the league. When a couple of years ago they realized, all right, we got to work with the teams on this. That yes, it's best for me individually if I get load managed, but it's probably bad for the product. So Jalen Green's listening to his elders. So I like that. He also, he has a kid at home to feed.
That's true.
Which is, nothing gets you to work on time like having mouths to feed.
That's true.
You think to yourself, is it really that bad being a deadbeat dad? And they're like, yeah, it is. I gotta be better than this, and you go to work.
Courtrooms are not fun. Not fun. Yeah.
What's that?
Courtrooms, not fun.
When did you stop being a deadbeat? When did you say, all right, I'm
never missed one child support payment ever. I'm proud to say 100% attendance.
My dad was awesome because he was a deadbeat dad, but he had such strong philosophy behind it that he had me convinced that he'd be a schmuck for paying that child support.
I'd be silly to pay for you.
The one time, it really all came to a head when I was 19 years old, and I had to go bail him out of jail. His child came to bail him out of jail for delinquent child support. That was... Boy, man, you got to own it. You got to own it when you give your son a call to bail you out for delinquent child support.
Yeah, man.
That's from his third wife had sued him for that.
Oh, my God.
My mom had given up long ago. And,
Dude, the stories, man.
Oh,
my God.
But with Jalen Green, I think the maturity is, it's there. He has matured a lot, and it's nice to watch this unfold.
I'm proud to say I made every child support payment. I'm not proud of what I had to do to pay it, but
Did you ever have a time? Did you have a stretch where your income declined, but then there was that lag period before they adjusted the child support?
No, mine was always the same. And ultimately, my ex-wife and I agreed on numbers that it was pretty amicable for other than the very, very beginning of it, where we're trying to arrive at child support numbers based on my previous life before radio, while I was still in my infancy stage of my radio career, which was literally I was making like 20% of what I was making in the corporate world. So that was a lot of back and forth. The lawyers made out good on that one. But no, it was all good. It was all good, man. I honestly, Seth, you asked me that question. I've blocked out like all the math that went into that because I haven't had to do it in several years. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, you just got to put your head down and go.
That's it,
man.
Okay,
that's it. I can't think about it. I can't sit here stewing over a bottle of whiskey about how much it is.
You just got to go, man. You just got to do it. Texans, they just got to hire an OC. Now they're interviewing guys, man. We know they've interviewed Jeff Nixon, the Syracuse OC. We know they've done an interview internally with Gerard Johnson. They've interviewed Thad Lewis. I don't recall if they've interviewed him or if they're going to interview him.
They interviewed Thad Lewis. They're going to interview Nick Caley.
Tomorrow is Nick Caley. Thad Lewis is the quarterback's coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Journeyman quarterback. Had a cup of coffee with the Texans here, actually, in Bill O'Brien's first season. He was a Texan in 2014.
And he had a cup of coffee with Chip Kelly at UCLA as well. And no news that they've actually interviewed Chip Kelly, and yet he's the biggest name that everybody's fixated on, myself included. I think Cole Thompson asked how come people are acting like Chip Kelly is a slam dunk. I don't think it's a slam dunk at all. I think that it's that maybe there's people out there talking like, oh yeah, the Texans are going to hire him. I don't think that. And the longer it goes without him actually being linked to the Texans, I would expect that less and less. So I don't think that it's a slam dunk that Chip Kelly definitely wants to leave or that the Texans definitely are going to try to hire him. I'm just intrigued by it and I want it.
Yeah,
that's
for
what
sure.
I want. Mostly because Chip Kelly, people mistakenly think that he runs sub-ton by an air raid spread. It's not at all. He is, more times than not, he is a run-oriented offensive coordinator, and he is really, really good at coaching up the offensive line. But he's also good at adapting to the talent he has. And sometimes he is more pass-heavy, sometimes he's more run-heavy. But it's his ability to work with offensive linemen more than anything that intrigues me.
Give us the what's the thumbnail sketch on Nick Caley, who they interview tomorrow?
This is the intriguing thing about Nick Caley, because I know a lot of people are going to see that, oh, he's with the Rams. No, I don't want Kubshanistan. He spent a huge chunk of time in New England. As at times that everybody a fullbacks coach, so he knows blocking. He got Devlin there to be a Pro Bowl alternate or whatever it was. He knows blocking. I like that. But then he's also had time in Kubshanistan with Sean McVay.
Yeah.
So this might I think there's an appeal there to having a guy that's well-rounded, has a lot of experience in the NFL on really good football teams. But like a lot of these other guys, not a bunch of play calling experience. So if you're looking for a veteran play caller, it's still taking a little bit of a flyer on any of these guys.
I look at a lot of coaching rosters throughout the season because I do 5 Reasons I Hate You every Friday. You and I do it, and that's one of one of my checklists is, let's go check the coaching staff and go see who's on there. Is there anybody we hate? And I'll be honest with you, I don't ever recall seeing a team have a coach specific to the fullback position, like a fullbacks coach.
Well, he was the tight ends and fullbacks
coach. Okay, gotcha.
So he was the tight ends coach.
I'm like, wow, that is because there's usually one fullback. I'm like, wow, the fullback got his own guy. That's amazing.
From 2017 to 2022, he was the tight ends coach, and then for a couple of years in there, he was also the fullbacks coach.
They threw the fullbacks coach.
The other times they had the running backs coach handle it, but that's interesting.
I was like, when it looked like. When it sounded like it was just the fullbacks coach, I'm like, that's like having, I'm executive vice president of office supplies.
Yeah.
Everything office supplies good. In office, that's not an insult to fullbacks. You need office supplies to run a business, you know?
Yeah, but even the teams that use fullbacks still don't use them a whole bunch. And I think I've told you this before. I remember Kyle Brady, an old teammate of mine, telling me this. He was a first-round pick for the Jets as a tight end. Back in the day. Got booed at Madison Square Garden, booed hard by Jets fans. He's a first-round tight end, and for the first several years of Kyle Brady's career with the New York Jets, he did not have a tight ends coach. He would bounce between the wide receiving room and the offensive line room, or that sometimes just left to wander around the facility.
Wow.
It was a mess. Yeah.
That's amazing that he never lived up to his potential getting drafted into a situation like that, you know?
He was good with the Jaguars.
Yeah, I know.
When he got to a good team, but then he never lived up to his potential.
He's a top 10 pick.
Jets.
Like, he was a really good player coming out of Penn State. And, like, to get dropped into that situation. Holy crap. That's wild. All right, Payne and Pendergast with you. Those are your headlines for today. All right, we're going to get to a little – we've got one coaching opening left. We're going to do a little head coach report card in the 7 o'clock hour. Also, I want to look back at the Texans today. In the 7 o'clock hour, I picked out what I think were the 4 best offensive plays of 2024. Later in the show, we've got the 4 best defensive plays, and I'm going to let you guys vote on it on social media. We'll basically give out a swarmy today for the best offensive play and the best defensive play of the season throughout the show. We'll do the offensive plays, best 4 coming up next.
Hey, Texas sports fans, I've got good news.